Welcome to Tai Chi, the way to radiant health. My name is Jeff Cote, and I am the Occidental Taoist. In this show, we're going to practice some Tai Chi and Qigong and other Taoist internal and meditative practices. These practices enjoy a long history throughout all of China, and I've had the great opportunity to study with some wonderful teachers, and I want to share that with you. In this episode of Tai Chi, the way to radiant health, we're going to be discussing the between heaven and earth exercises. First, we're going to review what we've done, doing a warm-up of all the counterswing series and opening the upper gates, and we're going to follow that up with learning the Between Heaven and Earth series. You're going to find that each of these episodes starts to build on the previous episodes so that eventually you have a series of movements, and we'll do less and less of teaching new movements and reviewing more and more and getting better at the movements we've already covered. Until we reach certain points, then we start again on a whole new section and a whole new series. In this one today, we begin with just starting our counterswing series. I'll remind you about basic structure. We want to put our weight in the center of the triangle of the feet. We want the knees and hips to be soft and buoyant. We want the bowl of the pelvis to be able to catch the upper body weight. So we drop the tailbone down, reducing the lordosis in the back, trying to get a sense of being suspended from above, and let the three dantians align naturally along the center line. Relax the shoulders and shoulder blades so that the arms relax down along the sides of your body. And take a moment just to examine the posture, to get a feel and turn inward. Get that calm and relaxed, centered and grounded, whole and complete, and alive and lively feeling. If you notice you're pushing with one side of the body more forcefully than the other, begin to examine how you can relax and let go and allow yourself to become more relaxed and natural. Then we bring our hands to the front, lightly make contact with the fingertips, place your mind in the lower dantian, and we begin with expansion while we inhale. And return as we exhale. Just a few repetitions of this nice slow motion, getting ourselves prepared for our whole routine. Bringing ourselves into the moment. Remember to use your imagination as a powerful tool to help you direct your mind intent and your body action. An expanding sphere right from the center, expanding in every direction at once. And now we bounce. We go right into counterswing. Again, trying to stabilize the lower dantian while allowing the upper dantian to turn, or the middle dantian to turn. forward and back. Try to feel the columnar shape of the body, keeping your weight directly centered along the center line. And as you swing and drop your arms, allow yourself to release any and all holding, getting a feeling that the momentum, action, movement, mind intent, and breath all work together to enhance the action, to stabilize that centralized column, and to get a feeling of free flow everywhere in the body. Go into our counter swing forward and back. Hopefully there you remembered to bring that momentum right to your center line. Remember, you can give a little reach at the end. Just asking those joints, hey, can you open up a little bit? Let go. Release that holding. Let your body open up. Relax, and let the chi flow freely. We always want to do that gently, though. Your body's your friend. You want to remember that and treat it that way. Sometimes our friends need a little nudge, but we always do that gently. Sometimes when you're practicing, you'll forget how many you've done. You'll lose track because your mind will focus on an element of it. You'll lose count. That's okay. There's no real rule here on any of these of how many you have to do. Sometimes I'll do them till I get sick of it. That can take a while. These feel good. And we return to the center and drop. Notice how you feel. Sometimes when I practice, I like to just stop and feel my body and notice the changes that are happening as I loosen things up, as I enliven my body, and how good that feels. This becomes a positive feedback message that we send to our body that encourages us to do this more and more. So now we're going to do the opening the upper gates. If you remember correctly, the basic posture is the same. You can widen your feet or stay narrow. I'm going to widen a little bit, in part because I'm going to make big motions of the arms and I want you to be able to see what I'm doing with my hands, and in part because I like to work my legs a little bit. I sit down into the stance. Begin with the hands in front of the dantian. And as I inhale, I just imagine that spherical dantian expanding and pushing my arms up and out. Nice and relaxed. Then as I let go and on my exhale, I just relax and settle into the position. And on my next inhale, I begin opening the wrists, hands and fingers. Then I reverse. Add in the elbows. that. And we bring the hands down in front of the dantian, make contact with the fingers, and now we're going to work the shoulders. So we expand up and open. Remember, shoulder blades down, you drain down when your hands go up. Open up the palms, come forward, start with the fingers, then the palms on that curtain, fingers facing each other, alternating back and forth. And relax. Shake out your arms. Shake out your legs for a second. If you're in a deep stance particularly, you may feel like your legs need a little bit of relaxing and loosening. That's what we've covered so far. Now to move on to something new. What we're going to do now is called Between Heaven and Earth. And it's really working with opening up the chi in here, in the torso. We had a piece of that we started last week, and that was at the end of the shoulder routine. We did the opening and closing. So we're going to do that. That rightly belongs to Between Heaven and Earth, but it kind of is a transition move from the shoulders and upper gates into the torso. So I'm showing it, and I'm going to explain it again here, even though I've already explained it last week, because I really want you to get this motion. This time we're going to talk about it, how it relates to Between Heaven and Earth, instead of how it relates to the shoulders. Before I talked about how we really want to make sure we pat behind the shoulders and we rotate our arms open. There's a couple of reasons why we do that. When we rotate our arms open but drop the shoulder blade down, we actually begin to stretch the pectoralis minor, which is a muscle underneath the thick muscle of the chest. And it goes from about the center of the chest over the rib cage, and it attaches on the front side of the scapula. On the inside of the scapula is your shoulder blade. It has a little flange on the front of that called the coracoid process, and the pectoralis minor comes in and it attaches right to that, and it controls this action. Now, sometimes as we age, people get tight in here and we start to collapse. This is exacerbated through a lot of time on a computer where we're hunched forward looking at the computer screen doing this, and we start to contract in here. We want to open that up. Okay, so we're going to pay particular attention to those shoulder blades dropping down and this sense of arcing open the chest here. We want to lift the sternum and let this open up as we open. Okay? This will also facilitate a movement from the middle dantian right to a point in the center of the front of the chest. Okay? Qianzhong, which is a point where it really opens up in the front and controls and enters that qi into that middle dantian. Then, as we close, not only are we going to focus on patting the shoulders, but we want to feel that pressure from here right through to the back, as though when we close, the back pushes out a little bit. So now we're getting qi movement right through that middle dantian area. So we start with opening the chest, lift, bring the chin up ever so slightly when you're coming forward, just so you make lots of room here on the inhale. Then on the exhale, we push that in and come around and make a good impact back there for the shoulders, but also that sense of pushing in and pushing back between the shoulder blades. And now, at first, you're going to be very, very, the word I'm looking for isn't quite forceful, but it's very definitively authoritative in this movement. So you want to then we're going to go a little bit less authoritative and a little more movement. And relax. So you can feel now how that takes everything you've just done with opening the upper gates and starts to drive that opening deeper into the chest. So you get good communication between the deep chi of the chest and the arms and shoulders and their expression into the hands. Very important for heart health, lung chi, flourishing, and eventually an exchange between the middle and lower dantians, which is a very important chi exchange that happens in the body. You'll see later we have a Qigong that works with that. So this is an important warm-up to that process to ensure that the qi is free-flowing in the individual regions before we get to those regions interacting with one another. Next, we're going to move down to the trunk twist. This is similar to the counter swing. In fact, I've often had people do this when they should be doing counter swing. If you remember correctly, counter swing relies on the momentum of the arms to rotate the upper torso, and the hips stay relatively square. In this particular exercise, this trunk twist, it's the reverse, it's the opposite. We're not going to hold the upper body still, but we're going to drive the action from here in our lower dantian. What I tell people is if you imagine having a pencil sticking out of your navel and you're going to draw a line with it back and forth, that is the action we want, okay? Sometimes I'll see people doing this, and you can see I'm moving my upper body and my arms, but I'm not really moving this very much. That isn't the action we want. What we want is everything to happen here, and we're going to let the whole upper body just be loose and relaxed and let momentum do what it does. So I turn and twist, and you can see my arms swing naturally. This is not about swinging your arms. Your arms will swing when you have it right, but that is not the goal. The goal is to rotate from the dantian, rotating the dantian and creating a twist through the back and through the torso. This is particularly good for low back difficulties, low back discomforts. In fact, anybody who comes to one of my classes and they tell me they have a lot of low back pain or they struggle with some low back or mid back pain, I tell them that they should do this a lot. In fact, I recommend people do this about 100 repetitions every day anyways. It will do wonders for your body. Not only are you relaxing your back, but you're also getting an internal organ massage as those two parts of the body twist back and forth. All the organs are being squished and moved around, so all that blood and lymph and fluid moves around and drains and assists in circulation. Now, I usually let my hands just pat my body. I usually let them start with patting the waist, and then I slowly move up towards the rib cage with my hands. Now, you'll see I'm still not directing the energy with my shoulders. I'm directing the energy with my waist, and right at the end, I just, as my hands swing, I pull them right to the ribs. It's just a bend in the elbow and an aim towards the ribs. Sometimes I'll put one hand in the front, one hand in the back, patting either side. On this right side here for me, I've got liver and gallbladder. On the left side, we've got the spleen and pancreas. And this little vibration is very good for your organs. Starts to free up the flow of qi, free the flow of blood, and induce a relaxation in the smooth muscle that holds the organs in place so that there's not unnecessary contraction. All of which can disturb digestive function, meaning the unnecessary contraction, not the action. The action helps. Then I'll let my hand float up to the shoulder, loosening the shoulder a little bit, and in the back you'll see my hand is hitting the low back with the back of the hand lightly right around the kidney height, the level of the kidneys. There's a point back there called the Ming Men. It's used in acupuncture to stimulate the yang qi of the body and restore vitality. Ming Men literally translates to the fire of the gate of vitality, or the fire of the gate of life. Very poetic. All of Chinese medicine is metaphor and poetry. Then I'll come right to the center, just above the center of the sternum here, and I'm trying to stimulate the thymus. The thymus is a very important gland in the body. In fact, one of the things that it does for us is it helps our immune system by managing the neurochemistry of joy, bliss, and connectedness. Helps us to experience love and peace. And since what we want is radiant health, a long life, and a happy, peaceful heart, stimulating the thymus is very helpful to that. One of my teachers used to say, no worry, no hurry. Be happy, be healthy, and smile from your heart. That was Zuko Sho. Very, very kind gentleman. I hope you one day get a chance to meet him. So when I do this, sometimes I'll imagine the picture of my son's face when he was just a toddler. He had this big smile in this one picture. And every time I saw that picture, it always made me smile. So when I practice this, I'll picture him just like that and let it make me smile. And then we relax. The next one is called circling the daimai. The daimai is a girdling vessel. It's a vessel that moves, or that just encircles the waist. It connects to all the other channels, the primary channels of the body that move vertically, and its job is to ensure the smooth flow of qi between them and the balance between them. So if the daimai is open and relaxed and free-flowing, it can regulate the qi of the other channels, particularly as they relate to each other. In Chinese medicine, the relationship of system to system is as important, if not more important, than the individual quality and action of the systems themselves. The key to this movement is to imagine the bowl, or the shape of the pelvis, not just as a bowl, but it's like a cauldron that you're not wanting to tip anything out of. We want to keep it parallel to the ground, the lip of it, so that we're going to move it horizontally through space, like so, without tilting the hips. Now, as I move around, what my mind regulation is going to do is move with the movement. So I start when my hip is forward, my awareness is here, right below the dantian, or right in front of the dantian. As I move to the side, it comes to here. As I move to the back, it comes to the Ming Men in the low back. Then it comes around to the side of the waist and back to the front. And one of my teachers used to say, use your eyes to direct the qi. So what I do is I literally look down, not just with my imagination, but also with my physical eyes, and I'll look around as I'm going and imagine looking behind. And you'll find if you do that, it really works. You can feel the waist a little better. And I go the other way. And then I relax and find central equilibrium. Now I'm going to feel the whole bowl of the pelvis. I want to feel the pelvic floor and give a little gentle draw upward on that. It's almost as though I'm going to do a Kegel exercise, but it's not that hard. Just a gentle draw upward. Same with the urethral muscles and the rectal muscles. Just a gentle draw inward, almost like I'm trying to support the whole lower bowl shape of the pelvis. I'm going to widen my feet just a little so that when I do this hip rotation, I'm going to work with the ball and socket joints of the hips, I can get the inguinal muscles to stretch a little bit more. A lot of times when I tell people to do these hip rotations, they focus on the outer movement. They're focusing on the muscles on the outside. I want you to focus on the muscles on the inside, the ones closest to the ball and socket joint. These form what the Chinese call the qua, which is the whole open expression of the hip itself and how the qi can move freely from the leg into the torso. So we sit down into it a little bit, and you can tilt a little, but as you can see here, I'm really focused on keeping this leg open. I'm not letting it collapse. I'm keeping it open and coming around, and I can feel this inguinal muscle right here stretch at the outer range of motion. Again, I've got that gentle draw up on the pelvic floor. Just feeling that support as I rotate. All of this is about developing deep awareness in the hip itself, trying to free that up. And then we go the other way. And I always finish with a stretching one inguinal muscle, stretching the other. And now when I say stretch, this isn't like, your gym class when you were a kid, and the coach is pushing you down and say, get in there, get that stretch. At least when I grew up, that's the way my coaches did it. Nowadays, they're probably a little more enlightened. We don't force our stretches. What we do is we go up to where the tension begins, observe it, align the form and structure, and give a gentle pressure, and try to focus on the release. So I come in, feel that, and try to release into it, back and forth. And then I finish shaking the legs out, letting that chi and blood flow a little freely down there. And that's the sequence of the Between Heaven and Earth. Next episode, you'll see that we're going to put all of that back together and then finish up this entire sequence with working with the lower gates in the body. Okay? I hope you're enjoying this practice and you're doing it on your own as much as you can. Shusha. Thank you for joining me on the path to radiant health, long life, and a peaceful, happy heart.